From the lowlands at the Texas coast, where the Gulf of Mexico touches the shore, Texas begins to reveal its beauty and variety. Here, sand dunes separate the strong waves of open water from the sheltered bays. It was on the coast that Spaniards first encountered Texas' varied habitats. Northwest from the coast, the land gradually slopes upward into regions of forest and prairie. The forests are dense in some places, with tall pines and rugged oaks. In other places, forest and prairie live close together, as in the cross timbers. In still others, the landscape of Texas is classic savanna. Islands of scattered oak trees, surrounded by prairies where buffalo roamed. The prairie was spectacular, a seeming ocean of grass that caught the motion of Texas's restless winds. In the dry areas, cactus was well adapted, its thick skin of leaves preventing water loss, as well as discouraging animals from eating it. The landscape of West Texas presents a wide open appearance in its bare rock, scrubby trees, and cactus plants that tell us this is a dry country where every drop of water is precious to life. In the Chihuahuan Desert region of Texas, the creosote bush, short grasses, sotol plants, and cholla cactus cover broad plains. Hills and mountains rise that are higher and cooler and wetter, so they are covered with oaks and pine trees. In the mountainous areas, bighorn sheep clattered up the slopes. They were and still are an awesome sight. At the Texas-Mexico border in the Big Bend country, where the Rio Grande flows like a muddy ribbon, we find Texas at its most dramatic, a rich landscape of volcanic rocks and varied habitats, protected as Texas's own national park. North toward the Llano Estacado, or Staked Plains of West Texas, the prairie is found near the Caprock Canyons, where a fence post and barbed wire remind us that Texas has been ranching and farming land for a century and a half. With the coming of settlers, streams were dammed and lakes created in many parts of the state. These changed earlier habitats and created new ones. The landscape here reveals some of the natural diversity of Texas, where rolling grasslands break into red-walled canyons. This part of the interior of Texas features many unique habitats. In the Concho River Basin of West Texas, ledges of sandstone provided shelter and viewpoints for the native peoples, who often left their passing in the forms of pictographs or petroglyphs, symbols painted on or carved into rock. Naturalists study the rocks, soil, plants, and animals of these natural environments. As they first arrived in Texas from the East Coast and even Europe, they needed guides to help them find their way through rugged canyons and thick forests. The guide might be Mexican or Indian, and he knew the wilderness well. These naturalist explorers had to hike into more rugged areas where horses couldn't travel. They also relied on early maps to show the way through Texas' many habitats. Those maps showed rivers, prominent features like mountains and canyons, and even the vegetation. Some of the early naturalists were a real contrast to the guides. Although guides were always dressed casually, naturalists often dressed in formal clothing. Suit jackets, vests, ties, and even top hats as they traveled into the backcountry. A naturalist visiting from England might look more like someone you'd expect to find in a Charles Dickens story.